about if then from
Sorry.
other practitioners' stories. And it's really a pleasure to be sharing kind of like a prototype performance and a bit of a talk of work with folks. So thank you for being here. And also thanks for spending your time with me. I'm seeing like some familiar names and faces, which is always nice, and a lot of new ones as well. Um, to explain a bit about what I'll do, I guess I'll do like a performance of some recent work. I'm always kind of like changing the form and the tech behind my performance, and I haven't done like a remote one in a while. I usually give these in person, but they did start out in this remote like Zoom form. So what I wanted to do today was kind of test another kind of like evolution of these performances. You'll see in a second. And then I probably won't take the whole hour doing this. So I'll talk a bit about like the pieces I just showed because they're also in existence as like net art, websites, games. Also, I have a glove because it's very cold here in New York. Um, and we can like do a Q&A or just like a casual convo at the end about the work or if there's any questions about like tech or themes or something. So yeah, I'll do like a 25-minute to 30-minute kind of performance part and then we can chat a bit after. Um, okay, first thing is I'm going to be sharing a link, and in case there are late joiners, I'd love your help in sharing this link over and over again. And I will be sharing my screen. Maybe the best way to experience things is to spotlight me. I'll turn off video eventually, so you'll only see my screen share. I'm going to switch to that. So this link I just pasted in the chat, ambience.s. Um, I'd love for you to open it on a browser window, preferably Chrome. I hope you're in Chrome. Others probably are okay as well. And the idea is, I guess, have me in the Zoom window, just like somewhere on the screen. Don't maximize either window. Just have both windows kind of like side by side in any configuration you want. You can have it like half together like this, or I don't know, whatever is easiest for you on your screen size. I mentioned also that the performance is kind of like best if you are kind of like actively participating. You'll see in a bit. Um, Basically, on the window here, I'm going to be asking you to maybe click around, move the window, and kind of like respond to what's going on in my screen. If you're on the site, I'm now shifting the slides on my screen. You should see the instructions I just gave you. Bring the window to any side of your Zoom chat. Don't maximize either window. Let the two windows sit around each other. Go to the Ambience's website. If anyone's having issues, let me know. Ideally, you should be seeing this text on your screen. Are people seeing that?
Yes.
Awesome. And if you close the window or want to like take a break from it, you can go back to the site at any time and I you should be caught up to like the latest slide. Okay, some people are looking at the code. It's not very good. Okay. I'll just go through a few more instructions and then I'll start playing music, shifting my voice a bit more, and we'll start in a second. At the bottom of the window on yours end, you'll sometimes see instructions or things you can do. Other times you can just like leave it there and kind of have it passively. On your screen, there should be a pink background, bodies moving around, and the instructions at the bottom should say that you can click anywhere on the window several times, and you should see the text shift. You'll open yourself up with me. You'll let your screen live. You will not just watch mine. You'll see yourself in me. You should see text like that loop. So that's kind of like the thing that will go on underneath all this. I'm slowly gonna present stuff on my screen. You can also feel free to just watch my screen if you don't have the capacity to have the other window open, but it's more fun if you do. Yeah, you'll just see those instructions and you'll see moments where you can also interact. It's very minor, but I hope it kind of like extends the bounds of this performance beyond just like, yeah, the Zoom screen share. Other times you'll get instructions to resize your window to be smaller. I've had many thoughts, a poem that might never see the light of day, everything I'll do, erase me, getting the words out to you. And all of this time, that's the legibility of work, a poem that can never be read, is a poem that might never see the light of day, and that erased me, left elsewhere, of my body stretching out these stories to you. This is a form of speaking, of writing, about the legibility of work, of poems that can never be read, of poems that never see the light of day. This is a way to kind of thread work together. All this performance has always been a way of threading work together. I'm kind of walking through recent work, and later you can see most of these pieces on my site. Everything I love. They come in different forms and containers and shapes. You mentioned games. There's more like electronic literature pieces. So they're shifting. Take me with you to the ends of the rail. See all things now. Had many thoughts about the work, about what can be seen. Tall grass floors, waiting to wake up. Kept secrets of getting the words out to you. Happiness melts down, it's filled, it spoke itself, scattered seeds, danger came, never touched. What we did here, what we live on, each breath breaks free.
Chia, are we supposed to be hearing?
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Do you hear
Okay.
it now?
Yes.
My bad. Of life and living. With the space here and its bounds could not be mapped out. You get to see so many more people. A poem that can never be read. Knowing gardens at the margins of the web. Wait, but not one day. Then making all do, attempting to full meeting of getting the words out to you. And all of this time into thoughts, finding a stream and call their own. Nothing here needs tending. Wants to pour a life into a life. Everything here was overgrown. How does it separate us? What is now possible? Where do we go? What are its properties? What do I keep from you? What guards it? What does it disable? How does it separate? Where do we go? What does it enclose? What is kept? All my endless void. How does it live a life whole? After the hour, I dreamt, parallel to his figure in bed. On All Souls Day, I will be with you, in consequence, and longing. The morning side, follow us, into us. The mouth once told me this poem. A flower is not a flower, it's made of only non-flower elements. Sunshine, clouds, time, space, earth, minerals, garden, gardeners, and so on. True flower contains the whole universe. If we return any one of these non-flower elements to its source, there will be no flower. And so on, true. This was the world I was. It was cold with all the children to the north, where there is no leaving from the day. I used to see her shape in all things. But did you see me that I couldn't? I clip wings. Are you sure it's time? Not for its death, its rotting, of getting the words out to you. Act 2, the breaks. All were heard for the last time. The bird debates with wind. The bird crying. The bird mourns. The bird circles. The thud. Clawing for life. Marking time. Beckoning. Harboring. Hitting the body. Watch what the idea of life dies as trails of life above life, above loss. Not sure if I'm ready to see it. What did you see that I couldn't? I imagined the birds I found you in the garden. They no longer sing. The birds no longer come. What once blanketed the nation has only become memory. Their altar call once inspired religions, only promises to self a fallen paradise. All this destruction, all this glory, hold a nation captive to make way for the new breeds. And it was the end. They were left to abandon, and so were all buried. All the great plains who once held their shadow now graze only to the sun. They shadow over their time. And the living could blot out the sky. Imagine it was the end. Sweetness with forgiveness of wills where only life can take other life. Imagine the taxon, drones scattered across trees, filling arms. And the city fell. Birds must be laughing. I can touch the heavens, touch the body, was touched, kill it nevertheless. Another time, at the foot of Eden, nobody sought relief, or another life, sterilized the body, and took our joy to our roots. The ruinous era that guts the living, human, before the taker is even free. Act 3, the diary. I marched with the last body I had, upstream, seeking the source. In the monsoon, begging me to come onto the earth, take me onto the tide, the current, this new century of forgetting. I need to come with you to the water. At the corner of my eye, I watched a tide taller than the moon threaten our lives. There is a witness to the ghost making. Water washed all I had. Hold it in me so that the other me raise the sun, ready for another one day. And we sought relief, another life. This country, the state of my people, were measured by the instruments. Someone else survived this. The heights of the shore to the heartbeat of the river, although it was rough, skipped across the waves, looked at the loose skin. And I'm going to see the church baptizing the new ones in the same water, fashioning the new instrument after the shape of the arms underneath. How many hours I held my breath before I was rising again, untethered, close, empty nest from the air conditioner, at the foot of Eden, they folded laundry in the riverbank, at the corner of the island, the extinction event. I departed the earth on good terms, no more figures in the clouds on my gentle terms, flying in the face of the storm. The years of my old I've lost. Imitation as a default mechanism. Find finite sentences and gentle endings. Everything short of truth. Everything novel doesn't lose it. Receiving the consequence. All inherited guilt. Ridding myself while running for lives. Forever, but how long? In the face, taking it up. Excise from documents. An ear pressed to. The receiver I found lovely. Static staring. Forever no more. Everything short of truth. Cranial technology. While casting light. No money for the monument. The lack of sufficiency. Over me then. The way I begged to be loved. Letting the record go. I was standing in artificial light. Wondering, gasping, receiving the lost consequence. Daniel, the twist all truth. Meg who sold me the cards. Michael, a good son. Jello, who had no beliefs. Nathan, his own myth. On the news, the body salvaged in the Tanzan municipality. The climate of fear, never enjoyed. Made all substitutions watch over me. In God's own country, had no inheritance, was stuck in the quarantine, who had no fantasies. The lack of space between life and death, or the borderless region, a good son who sold me cards, who twisted all truths. Let all play a quickening, an explanation and its nth repetition. And is the great connector and revealer, a whisper Every living being was a network. Everyone was fighting for their lives, vying for air, trying to taste the breath of fire, breathing, moving. Silence, devouring into the ocean. A weird coalesces into itself. I wanted this to be the sound. It was the first angry song. A scream. My beliefs are flawless. I am pure in your sight. No vindication was required of me. No absolution. All the women talking reminded me of a long time. Do you feel it? Do you see it? Do you want to be in their bodies? Do you want to take their shape? Just all put ourselves there. The dust. Left in the box. Do you see it? Do you fear it? Will you tempt it? The wick cut off, being unmade. Make sure you can see everyone there as the song realized. Mystic nation is to care of people. I observe, for viewpoint. I remark, I witness, I see, spares the loud voice, spares the music. I transform in order to say something. An apparition announced herself, big to be transcribed, constantly. She's been thread on all our lives. Discover, I believe, I perceive, I be. To draw a border between language and me, distinguish between the boundary and a wall. I witness, I discover, I don't understand, I remark, I agree, I go, I declare, my poor memory made me a prophet of new people merged with me. The dreams, or starts falling, but too slow. And the delayed surrender. I lost consolation. forgotten. Understand. Pass into the cosmos. Understand. Stay. Whispered in. What to see. So syntax and then lightly. Past the birth of new words. The feverish air. To the language evaporating upwards. To the gestures becoming vapor. To the capital building void. History. To all the partial gods drifting. All the winds that fill progress. Let me go gently to the night star. Watch it all glow. The beast made of memory. To all the fevered scares. Don't follow me back. Sharpen the air. And walk into forgetting. To all the stampede against brutality. Each heart that you found alive. Left the empty starkness by. Its stride was light years. Saw the sun. Took it closely. Became a nebula. Watch the ends unfold. Like this earth dissolving. I saw the moon burned with it. Entered the atmosphere. The world feel quiet. Watched you go. And people I saw every song. Another time carried without meaning. Missed it. Backwards forever. Incomplete thought and scent turned out to leave me out. Are you listening? Don't tell me. Don't remind me. The people I saw in my shadow. I spoke a name you created, taking the word back. Think thing just beside me. I could lie to look for another name. A name for a body. Your name was the same substance. Because I drew the line and found something else. There, gathered, packed, just this side of love, speaking it. City. There, forgotten how, where, I've been trying to map everything I know to space and abstract all the truth onto this plane. And we're building things that can never really be made. Why they gathered. And falling to the same form across all around, erasing. Okay, I think I'll end there. Thanks for watching. Is my voice normal mode now?
Yeah, you
Okay.
sound great. This is incredible. Incredible. A round of, I mean, people are doing it, but a round of Zoom party horns and snaps and claps and hearts and
Yeah, thank you
fun.
everyone for watching. This was fun to try and a bit of like really like the first time I tested this form. Um, of course I was working on it until like 30 minutes before this call. So I'm glad it turned out passable. But I'll keep on pushing on it. Thanks for being the first ones to see it.
Oh, it's an honor. I was really struck by how like how my attention was operating during the performance. And I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how you're thinking about ambience as a political project and how it is relating to attention in your work.
Yeah, of course. Also, hang on. I'm tracking down the window that's moving things around my screen. Maybe you guys are still doing the same, so I'm taking that down.
I'm just gonna be I'll keep up some birds is my plan. And then some then the person that says I am sometimes, which feels very
Awesome.
right.
Yeah, you can let some of them like linger there. Sometimes I forget when I'm like working on pieces and one of them just like pops up after a while. It's obviously the core of all this. Yeah, I think I well, the thing I say about like the internet ambient term is it kind of feels like obviously contradictory to how maximalist and extreme the performances I do are. Um, like the technologies I play with are attempting to kind of like push at the defaults and the kind of like usual and standardized like form of what a site is, of what a machine does, just to streamline attention, be performant, and a lot of my work attempts to like contest that and maybe like reconfigure what we consider um, to be as the environment of the web, and realize that perhaps a lot of this kind of like performant nature of sites and the given like structure of them actually try to invisibilize this kind of exploitation and extraction of our attention. So in a way, I think I'm trying to make work that distributes agency, this form especially, where the work bleeds out into your screens. Um, and maybe that's key. Like, what exactly is the ambience or atmospherics of the internet? I want to keep pushing on that. That's my answer. Yeah.
Thank you, Chia. Do we have time for like 10 minutes of Q&A?
I'm totally
Your
down to
game.
hear it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Is there anyone in the room? Feel free to like unmute yourself or if you have questions, comments, feel free to jump in.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question? Thank you so much, Chia. It was amazing. I really enjoyed seeing this work and being part of the pilot for this new approach. I was wondering, maybe you could say a bit about how it works and the sort of process of developing this in the context of like the live performance and how I guess I had this feeling that you could probably get a sense of what we were doing on our end, but I was curious to hear more about like how you tested and developed this kind of approach. I really loved it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I can give a bit of like context on to like the works that you folks just saw. Um, so what I just presented was where do I begin? Well, I essentially laid out kind of like a slide deck-ish presentation of work. Um, but rather than just showing image and text on a single slide, I was kind of popping up other windows and eventually like leaving some windows from older sequences in and then starting to like read amongst them and let them blend into each other. I think that's basically like the basis. All of the acts were basically divided into like um some like recent-ish pieces I did. Um I had notes here. There was like they're all like separate pieces, and what I was essentially doing um was kind of like pulling out like a portion from that like net art piece or game, um usually out of order, and then yeah, like letting the scenes from that piece kind of like merge into each other, and then letting separate pieces also begin talking to each other. So one of the pieces I showed was all the birds with one stone, I think, and the other one was this new like hypertext kind of diary thing. The first piece I showed was um like a game I made for Indie Apocalypse called Flower Picking Manila North. And then the last piece was a more like ambient kind of thing where the just taking over people's screens. Um, yeah, the so they're all just kind of like pieces in different forms. They mostly have the same mechanism. Click them, click on windows, scroll, hover or something to reveal text. Sometimes it's in the title bar, sometimes it's there when you hover over things. Sometimes it appears only when the window is moved to a certain space, so you're just like playing with the whole desktop. And um, I don't know, I think a lot of what I do is just wanting to make like the work live beyond like a tab. Any browser-based work should kind of interfere and intervene with the person's whole desktop. So this performance is a way to stretch it even more. I mean, naturally we browse this way as well, and we have like hundreds of Chrome tabs of Wikipedia and like research papers up. So I just want to make interactive work that feels like that. I like performing also as a way to kind of thread things between my own work. I don't usually like practice before I do these. This has been a problem, but also fun for me because like in the moment I kind of like improvise like connections between pieces. I think a lot of these pieces I also forgot what was on that sequence that I that I put up. So I'm just like letting it surprise me if there are connections. I think there were. There's a bunch about borders and there's a lot of like naturalistic elements and stuff like that. So yeah, performance is a way to make it come alive. And obviously I'm stretching it to your screen as well. So you can kind of initiate aspects of the piece from your end.
That's so cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Joy has a question in the chat. Um, I'm happy to read it, but Joy, feel free to jump in too. And they're wondering, do you compose the music that's part of your work? And then Sam also wants to know how often do you restart your computer? So composition of the music and then
Yeah, they're both very good questions. Um, For this performance, I was just playing a backing track. It was made by Kalyan Kolev for like a other piece I did called Pag-asa, which is more of a performance lecture. I didn't actually like pull up that piece, but it was a piece that was dealing a lot with like remote sensing and satellites, which was imagery recurring here. I didn't I didn't have time to like prepare a music thing here or so, and I was also testing this new form, so I was nervous to do the whole setup. But usually, when I do these performances, remote or live, I am like many others my age, an amateur ambient musician. So I'd like to go field recording, and I'd like to play with synths and sampling. I mean, sampling is also a recurring theme across the work. So usually make music that's just built around like looping and granular synths, and then I usually will play that with like a sampler or with like um a device called the Monomi Norns, if you're familiar. It's like a mini sound computer, very community oriented, and like playing with the scripts there. um so yeah, I ambient performances. I like to add my ambient music. It's very bad, but so I just like to do it as like a live thing to add on to the already intense visuals. But I think the music is best suited as like little samples and long drones because there's already so much going on visually. But yeah, this one was just a backing track. I sometimes do it if it's a bit too intense or unrehearsed. Um, how often do I restart my computer? This is like a kind of maxed out MacBook from previous years, so it can luckily withstand things. The more I work with, like window pop-ups and like everything you see is just JavaScript, the more I realize that maybe I need to like write better code rather than like what I do, which is a bunch of like timeouts and intervals, probably never being ended. I luckily don't have to close my whole computer often, but I do have to chase down the windows. Like part of the work is to do things. I sometimes have like three different browser instances running, and I have to like chase them down. Um, so the problems are usually with those several browser instances. Um, but yeah, I don't know how your computer's fared because my MacBook is pretty strong, so I feel bad.
Oh, this is great. Do you have time for two more questions?
Of course, yeah.
There's two great ones from Ryan and from Momo in the chat. And Ryan and Momo, feel free to unmute yourself. Um, but I'm happy to read
Oh,
them too. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was, yeah, I felt like on the verge of crying for most of that. Um, but yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience of attention while you're in the midst of performing. Because yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have a long time of trying to process what exactly my experience of attention was as sort of a participant or audience member. But yeah, how is it for you?
Yeah, it's always evolving with every performance. When I was talking a bit about the process, I obviously like was talking about my own experience of like re-experiencing my work and finding threads between them, which feels important. Um, this performance was unique though, in that in previous instances, all I'm concerned about is like my computer, me fiddling with like the sound system, and just making sure I can keep track of all things that are going on. Which is a bunch of bespoke websites to do that. And I'm just like moving between desktops and letting the work lay around. But this performance was different in that I also had to keep track of people's own windows and what I was like doing to people's screens. So I I have another laptop beside me that shows the audience view of it just to make sure that it was working. So it's a bit crazy. I have like several machines and I have like three monitors. But I really try to just like focus on the immediate thing, and only look to the side when I have like these cues or when there's like a transition point in the piece. Um, I like performing in a way where it's just like a lot of my work, I want people to experience it 3 a.m. alone in their computer in bed. I feel like that's the best environment for it, more than like gallery settings or like arcades or whatever. And I think when I perform the piece, it's best for me to be in that kind of environment also, because that's when, you can fully be engrossed and reveal what I'm feeling, and such. So I always try to like maintain that state, but I feel like I would need to learn more from how like electronic musicians do their setup. Um, I'm sure there's much I can learn from them because there's like too much going on. But yeah.
Thank you, Chia. Two more great questions if we have time. Uh Momo's question. Momo, if you want to unmute, go ahead. Otherwise, I can
Sure.
read. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Chia. I've been a really big fan of your work for a while, and I was really happy to see you doing an online performance. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your thoughts behind, or your thought process behind connecting you and the audience with like dual windows, just from kind of the floaty poetry aspect of that. Like, what was the heart behind it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the core of wanting to do this form is basically just to just be truer to the work and let people start finding their own branches. Um, I've been slowly experimenting with like how to do these remote performances well because like yeah, I could just screen share on Zoom and you have this like intense window, but then it's really different if what you see on my screen also starts showing up on your screen, and you can eventually kind of compose almost your own like mini performance alongside mine. And a lot of my work is interested in like extending agency and like pushing on these like bounds of like what a site means and how it can connect us. So a lot of the things that you saw on the user side, I wish I could push into this more, but we're like, I was just copying like text and code from the source pieces and putting it there. So you had like snippets as well. Something I would have loved to do is actually like launch the actual relevant part of that piece on your screen so you could go have a direct link to it and start experiencing the piece on your own. So you basically like replicate what you're seeing on my screen. But yeah, basically to be truer to um, the pieces where if you were to play them on your own computer, the windows would come up also.
And one more last kind of banger of a question from Caitlin. Caitlin, if you want to unmute, feel free, but otherwise,
I can unmute.
okay.
First of all, thank you, Chia, for this wonderful um digital experience. I'm really interested in how you're thinking about the ecological of digital experience in general. Like I think you said earlier in the talk about how you're thinking about the digital as environments, and I saw that throughout your work from the non-human life forms like the volcanic, but like yeah, like the volcanic, the clouds. But I really like the infrared map that um you had on there too. But I'm also curious about how you thought about the mouse over effects because it really gave a standard extended reality texture. So again, thinking about space and digital experience. So I would love yeah, and lastly, sorry, about the external control of the experience. So you were the one guiding us through this how would I say meditative project, and it's also I just see that within like the back end code, since I saw someone was looking someone commented one of the lines, so I was wondering like how you thought about that in relation to like JavaScript query, where we are essentially like externalizing the control of our websites to these libraries. So yeah, sorry that was long-winded, but thank you. I love this project. I love it.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Um, Let me try to answer them. Feel free to steer me back if I miss any. But yeah, the environmental aspect is a really interesting question and something I'm trying to articulate for myself, like from like a very utilitarian perspective. Like a lot of my early work, I was just like basically picking up stock images. I was going to Google Images and searching like flower and picking that up. And then I was trying to find more personal, localized sources. And now I feel like I do a lot of like time digging through like Filipino Facebook groups or like Marketplace. Also Google Street View, of course, is like a recurring source. So maybe that's like, so there were definitely like textures that you saw as part of the work.
Mm.
Towards the start of the performance, I was also there's this intro slide where I was kind of like thinking about like what does it mean to build a garden on the internet, or what does it mean to kind of like replicate um, physical space online. A lot of like the site movement I'm around is always aspiring towards these types of metaphors, these naturalistic metaphors on digital space. And I've been thinking a lot about maybe like the constraints and bounds of that, like outside of like its aspirations. Um, a lot of the work is obviously kind of like replicating like real scenes, like literally someone running through and mountains in the background, or like farmlands or fishermen and stuff. And I think it's easy to maybe say that, I'm trying to make like desktop landscapes and I'm trying to like replicate the type of way the type of portraiture and sceneries that people sketch out through paintings and such. But I feel like underneath that I'm trying to figure out why I'm drawn to this imagery and the limits of it and what is like next. I think a lot about games like adjacently and how perhaps like this website authorship, I'm like playing God with all these elements like moving so statically and entirely under my control. How do I give the windows themselves more agency aside from just me and the reader? Um, so I think maybe I'm drawn to these natural forms because I want to begin exploring the question like how do these um how do how do the windows and agents and characters and objects I evoke how can they move without my doing? Or maybe the whole point is that they only move with my beckoning. I don't know. Um, but yeah, maybe those are like two angles towards that. Um, and then there was a piece about maybe like a bit of the code. I tr- I kind of like reuse code across projects, of course. And I kind of like name like the scripts that I make kind of like weird, like me.js, you.js, moving.js, everything.js. It's kind of like obscure, but it makes sense to me when I start the project and I think about like each window in relation to each other. Um, there's like some console log statements. Honestly, most of them are just like debugging stuff. Um, there's some things that are hidden underneath like mouse overs rather than just like plain text. There's text and things that only appear when you labor to do it, when you change your screen and disrupt it, and you can choose to ignore that command as well. Um, maybe the simplest explanation is sometimes I just want something to be a bit more difficult to read. Um, Sometimes I feel like words tucked under a few more layers of friction lend itself best to like the subject or yeah. um, Okay, I don't know if there was another piece, but yeah.
No, that was perfect. Thank you, Chia. Thank you.
I think that's a great note to end on here. Um, Thank you, Chia. Again, this was like what a treat. What a way to I don't really want to do any work after this. I just want to like sit and think. So thank you for uh for being with us today and sharing this sort of new version of the project. It's like an honor to be a part of your process in that way. Um and yeah, another round of like hearts and claps and whatever emoji you feel best represents
Thank you, everyone.
your
More hearts
reaction.
and claps.
This was lovely. Yeah, so Chia's performance will be up on the archive hopefully shortly. Um, and yeah, what a way to kick off 2026 for If Then. We've got some other stuff coming up. Max Kaminsky's coming in February. Margot Machado will be here in March. And Kosi Nukaleko will be here in April. Um, and so, yeah, stay tuned for more emails from me, should you want them. Um, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks again, Chia. Great to see you all. And see you in February.
Thank you so much.
Bye, y'all.